10,000 things going. I got my agenda up.
Anthony, unmute yourself. Anthony, unmute yourself. We can hear you making all that noise.
What noise would I be making, Councillor
Paper,
Nunziata?
Please.
Paper.
Yeah,
Paper.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sitting here very, very quietly, you know that, right? Just waiting for all of it. Yeah.
Councillor Grimes, you are free to begin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Mark Grimes, and I'm the chair of Etobicoke York Community Council. The clerk has now confirmed that we have quorum, so I will call meeting number 22 to order. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is held by video conference. City staff are also connecting to the meeting by video conference at civic buildings remain closed. The public will be continuing to participate electronically and can watch the meeting streaming live on YouTube at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. I ask everyone for their patience with any delays and technical issues. We've got a busy morning this morning. The clerk staff has connected all registered speakers to the meeting by audio. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Etobicoke York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. City's IT staff will be available to assist members with their devices. I'd like to remind staff to keep their mics muted and their videos turned off unless they need to answer questions or speak to the committee. This will make it easy for me as chair and those who are watching on YouTube to observe members as they participate in the debate and vote on items. Members, please keep your mics muted unless you wish to question staff or speak to an item. Ensure your video is turned on. As part of each agenda item, I will ask members to raise their hand or unmute their mic if they wish to question staff or speak. I will then create a speakers list and will call on members when it is their turn to speak. When voting on an item or motion, I ask that members ensure they turn on their video and raise their hand to indicate their vote. Members, want to remind you, you must submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at etcc@toronto.ca to help with your motions. Although we are in different locations and meeting remotely today, the committee would like to acknowledge the land we are meeting on as the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, Métis people, and known that Toronto is covered by the Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Are there any declarations of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please raise your hand, unmute your mic, indicate the item and the nature of your interest. Seeing none, I have one. I just have to find it. 22.19. Nancy, have you got the title of that one, 2219? Sorry. Hang on, 2219.
Yes, Chair Grimes.
So I have it here. I have it. Heavy vehicle prohibition, Bloor Street West between Auckland Road and a point 210.8 meters west of Markland Drive in wards 2 and 3. I'm the owner of a transportation logistic company. My trucks could be traveling on that road, so out of abundance of caution, I'll be declaring a conflict and handing the chair to Councillor Ford. And I also suggest we'll deal with that at the end of the meeting so Councillor Ford can deal with that and probably just close the meeting. Okay. Okay, now we can go through the items. Bear with me. EY 22.1555 Rexdale Boulevard Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Final Report. We have held this for speakers at 9:30. 22.2, 2839 Jane Street zoning bylaw amendment application final report. And Councilor Perruzza, Board, we have speakers. We're holding that down for 9:30 for speakers. 22.3, 105 31st Street zoning bylaw amendment application final report. I'm going to just hold that down because I like to hold that with number 37. I think they should have a meeting together when I just asked staff. So I'll just hold that down in my name. 22.4, 1325 to 1365 Queensway zoning bylaw amendment application preliminary report. I'll hold that down in my name. 22.5, 337 to 349 Queens Drive zoning bylaw amendment application preliminary report. Councilor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move the recommendation.
Councilor Nunziata move the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 22.6, 3400 Western Road and 2405 Finch Avenue West official plan amendment and zoning bylaw application preliminary report. Councilor Perruzza, we're going to hold that for speakers.
Yeah, I'd also like to
Okay.
hold it for a short amendment as well.
Okay. 22.7, 3471 Lakeshore Boulevard West zoning bylaw amendment application preliminary report. I'd like to hold that down with number 23. I think we should be having that meeting together, so I'll hold that down. Just a question, staff. 22.8, 41 to 75 Four Winds Drive zoning bylaw amendment application.
I'd like to
holding that down for speakers.
yeah, I'd also like to hold that down for a short amendment as well.
Gotcha. 22.9, 25 Maple Avenue zoning bylaw amendment application request for direction report. Councilor Ford, could you move those staff recommendations on my behalf?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Ford is moving the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 2210, 4700 Keel Street, the Quad Phase 2 Public Art Plan. Councilor Perruzza?
Yeah, I just hold that down for a few minutes. I just want to review a couple of things.
Gotcha. 2211, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447, 102 Lorimer Drive. Councilor Perruzza, we have this time for 10 o'clock.
Do you have speakers on this, Mr. Chair?
Nancy, do we have speakers on number 11?
No, we don't have any speakers for item 11.
So I think
Okay,
we still have to hold
so-
it down to 10 o'clock, do we not? Or can we move it?
Please hold it until 10 a.m.
Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah.
I also have a motion on that at 10 o'clock then,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. Thanks.
2212, request for a fence exemption in Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447 to 109 Valcrest Drive. Councillor Holiday, we'll have that time for 10.
Mr.
Speaker?
Chair, if I just advise you at this time as well that I intend to defer that to the next day.
Okay.
There's a lot of work going on. We need a bit more time.
I still think we have to hold it, Councillor Holiday, to 10 o'clock. We can do it after 10 o'clock, okay? 2213, traffic control signals, Indian Avenue and Barker Avenue. Councillor Ford.
I'll move staff recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Ford moves the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 2214, traffic signals and traffic amendments, Bermanthorpe Road between Dundas Street West and Kipling Avenue. I'd like to hold that down. 2215, always stop control, Balacane Drive and Ed Walter Avenue. In my ward, Councillor Ford, can you move the staff recommendations, please?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Ford moves the staff recs. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 2216, always stop control, Palmar Drive and Isley Crescent, Northwest intersection. Councillor Perruzza.
Yeah, I have a motion on that as well. I believe the clerk has it.
Okay. Could you, it should be quick, Anthony?
I think it should be quick. I
Okay.
just simply want to change the staff recommendation and support the installation of an all-way stop signal there at that intersection.
Okay, Councillor Holiday, I take it you want a recorded vote?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, my mute button's a little slow
Yeah.
today. I would prefer to vote against this. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So all in favor of Councillor Perruzza's motion? Opposed? Councillor Holiday. That carries.
Thank you.
2217, parking amendment, Shaver Avenue South. Councillor Ford, can you move the staff recommendations, please?
So moved.
Councillor Ford moves the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 2218, introduction of overnight on-street parking, on-street permit parking, Rectory Road. Councillor Nunziata.
So I'll move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recs. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 2219, heavy vehicle prohibition, Bloor Street West between Auckland Road and point 2210.8 meters west of Markham. I've declared a conflict on this, so I think we're going to deal with that last. If everyone's okay with that, all in favor of dealing with it last? Opposed? Carried. Noting my conflict, Nancy, I'm sure you got that. 2220, traffic calming poll results, Clearview Heights between Trethewey Drive East intersection and Trethewey Drive West intersection. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I do have a motion, if the staff can put it on the screen.
Okay. Could you maybe basically just tell us what it's about, Councillor Nunziata?
Yeah. Well, I'm deleting the staff recommendation and approving the traffic calming.
Okay. And then I guess we'll ask recorded vote for Councillor Holiday. The motion's on the screen. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Holiday and opposed. That carries. Nancy, you good? Nancy?
Yes, all as well. For
Okay.
recorded votes, I can take them next time if you like.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, just if I'm going too fast, I'll slow down. 2221, designation of fire routes and amendments to Chapter 880, fire routes 30 North Finch Drive. Councillor Perruzza.
Happy to move that, Chair, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Proof moves the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have a number of new items to add to the agenda. 22.22, appointments to the Memico Village BIA. 2223, convert no parking to no stopping regulation on Brookers Lane. 2224, holding provision 2200 Islington Avenue. 2225, speed hump on South Kingsley Drive. And 2226, Mimico Land Assembly for Waterfront Trail. And that's it. So I need a motion to add those to the agenda.
There's one more, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Holiday.
EY 22.27 Chimney Swift Park.
Okay, and what's the title of that? Just
Chimney Swift Park.
okay. So I need a motion to add those to the agenda. Moved by Councillor Ford. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, moving right along. Nancy, 22.1?
Correct.
Okay. So our first item is 22.1555 Rexdale Boulevard zoning bylaw application, final report, speakers. And where's my speakers list? I'm sorry, Nancy, we have speakers?
We have Tyler Peck up to speak.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I think it's my understanding that Tyler won't be speaking on this. We've had conversations with my office, and the plan is to defer.
Okay. Any further speakers on the item? Seeing none, Councillor Ford, questions of staff? Councillor Ford, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. So I have a motion. I'll move deferral, if that could be placed up on the screen here. Very similar to last time, members. This is a big file that we continue to work on with my office, the applicant, city planning, transportation, legal, and we aren't, right set to move this to city council yet. We want to do it right, and we want it to be successful. So I would ask for your support just to defer this a little longer, and I believe it's to May to give us a couple months. So
next day. So your attention to next meeting, correct? Next day.
Two meetings.
2 meetings?
Yeah.
Nancy, you got that?
Yes, the motion's correct, and it has the date on there. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of deferral? Opposed? That is carried. Moving right along. (22.2) 2839 Jane Street zoning bylaw amendment application final report. Councillor Perusa, we have speakers at 9:30. Nancy, could you call the speaker? I'm sorry, I don't have that list in front of me.
We are looking for Adam Layton. Is Adam Layton available?
Good morning. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, Mr. Layton. Welcome, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I will be brief. My name is Adam Layton. I'm a partner with Evans Planning. We are the planning consultant on behalf of the owner of the property, CTN Jane Inc. We have reviewed the recommendations of staff, and we agree. We have no comments or concerns thereof. We're happy to have gotten to this point, and I'm really just here to answer any questions of council if there are.
Thank you, Mr. Layton. Questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you. Questions of staff? Councillor Perruzza. Sorry, Councillor Nunziata, we can't hear you.
The deputant on this item.
I'm sorry? Councillor Nunziata, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Councillor Grimes, we have Matthew Maxey, who is also ready to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I haven't got my list here. So, okay, so our next deputant, please.
Hi, my name is Matthew Maxey. I'm with AAA Architects, who's the architect on this project. We agree with the city's report and have no comments. I'm also just here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions of the deputant? Seeing none, Councillor Perruzza. I'm sorry, is that the end of the speakers, Nancy?
Yes, that's the end of the registered speakers.
Okay, seeing no questions of staff, Councillor Perruzza.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't have any questions of staff.
Okay, and you to speak.
I'm happy to speak. This development has been in the mix for quite some time. It's at the corner of York Woods and Jane Street. As you can see by the application that's before you, it's a mid-rise residential building with some retail still connected to it. It's in the part of the city where we have been seeking some renewal for quite some time. It's a considerable improvement on what is currently at that intersection, which is basically, a big ditch, and historically it's been a very sort of problematic corner, and I think it will ultimately contribute positively to the neighborhood. The applicant has come a long way in meeting the community and is providing some considerable community benefits to the neighborhood. One would always like to have a little more, but I think that they have come a long way in meeting those needs. They've been very accommodating to the neighborhood and some of the concerns that have been raised along the process. So we have this application that's before us today, and it's welcome. So, Mr. Chairman, if I'll leave it to you as the chairman of the committee to move it for all of us.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Perruzza. Any further speakers to the item? Seeing none, Councillor Perruzza has moved the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, 22.3, 105 31st Street, zoning bylaw amendment application, preliminary report. I have quick questions of staff. The planning staff available? The planning staff available to answer questions?
Hi, yeah, Jeff Elkow. Yep.
I'm sorry, it's Jeff?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Jeff. So I just see 23.3 and then 22.7, 3471 Lakeshore Boulevard. They kind of abut each other, one being on Lakeshore Boulevard, the one being on the side street, 105 31st Street. These are two separate applications. And is this the same owner? Do we know?
Technically a different owner listed on both titles, but I think there's a connection between the two.
So would it be appropriate to hold this public meeting 23-2-3 and 23-7 together when we have that public meeting?
Yeah, I think that could make sense to
Seems
handle
a
it
bit
together.
peculiar. This is coming in separately and they're back on back. It just seems something's up on this one. But anyway, I'd like to move that we have that public meeting together. I don't know if we need a motion, Jeff, but I'd like to do 22-3 and 22-7 on the same night, if that's okay. You agree with that?
Yeah, that works for me.
And we don't need a motion, correct?
Not sure on that.
Okay, but the planning will
you,
agree to have
Mr.
those meetings
Chair.
together, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this
Sure.
is Angela Stea from City Planning.
Okay,
I don't believe we need a motion. Jeff and I had discussed that in advance of this meeting, as it is the same consultant team. So we have discussed having the meeting together.
okay. Do you think this is gamesmanship here? We're going to see this application come together?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think it would make sense for the reports to come together. We'll just have to see how the different aspects of each of the applications sort of progress through their review.
Great. Those are my questions. Thank you. Any further questions of planning staff? Seeing none, I will just move. I'll just move the staff recommendation to have a meeting and duly noted that we'll deal with 22-7 at the same time. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 22.4, 1325 to 1365, the Queensway zoning bylaw amendment application. Again, in my ward, I have a question for, I guess, is Angela, is that you again? From planning?
Councilor Grimes, yes, it's me as well.
Okay, so Angela, so I know this is just a standard motion, usually just have a public meeting, but reading the report here, this is Islington and the Queensway, where they're coming for a 37-story building on that corner. And I know Councillor Holiday and Councillor Ford know that corner, Hakeem Optical. There's no way a 37-story is going to be supported by myself or I'm sure this council. So do we have to move this? Can we not send this back to the staff, to the applicant and say, 37 stories is inappropriate? I mean, I don't know what planning's position is, but I can tell you that will not be supported in my community. So, I even hate to bring this to a public meeting because people are just going to be outraged when they see this. Can we send this back to the applicant to have them to sit back with planning and come back again, or do I have to just move this motion?
I know we have expressed, and we've been having discussions with the applicant about revising the application. In terms of whether council today needs to, move the recommendations here or not, I guess reality is community council has the ability to refuse the recommendations in our preliminary report if that's what you'd like to do.
Okay, but does that put us in a bad light if they appeal to the board?
Emily, if you are on the line, or no, actually she's not on the line. Sorry, she's got a conflict. We would come back with a request for deferral.
Okay, so I'm going to hold this down. I can tell you, Councillor Holiday and Councillor Ford agree with me. A 37-story building in that corner, I don't even want to bring that to my residents. They're going to be just totally outraged. So can you maybe just work in a motion that would be appropriate for planning staff that won't get us in trouble if this went to the board, but to T-Lab, but I'll just hold that down. But I don't even want to bring this to my community at this point with 37-story building there. So I'll just hold that down. Is that okay, Angela?
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Great. And if you can work on a motion that'd be appropriate for you guys that you approve, it'd be great. Okay?
Will do.
Thank you. 22.5, 337-349 Queens Drive zoning bylaw application. Preliminary report. Councillor Nunziata, we moved that, correct? Sorry.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I believe that's been dealt with.
Yeah, let's move.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry. We got 3 screens going on here. Okay. 22.6, 34 Western Road to 405 Finch Road West. Councillor Peruzza. Do we have speakers, Nancy?
Yes, there's one registered speaker, Grant Evers.
Mr. Everts, are you on the line? Mr. Evers, you there?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Welcome, and you have 5 minutes to speak to us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor and Chair. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to this item. This is part of a major development that's occurring as part of the revitalization of the Western and Finch area. I just thought I'd just spend a moment just to say why I'm speaking. I serve as president of the Humber Summit Residents Association, and if you have the submission in front of you, you would note that our area is just a little bit west of the Western and Finch area. And we do, at the very bottom of the first map, the very bottom of our map of our catchment area, we serve part of the Humber Bean community as well. I think that's important because this development is in Humber Bean. Now, I've also included a map there of the Toronto Residents Associations and Ratepayers Association, and I only put that in just to show you that if you look at the map, we are the only residents association or ratepayers group in the northwest end of the city. And I think that that's important because, as we will see, there's very little opportunity for residents in this area to have a voice, and I think that's important. We've been active for 5 years, and I think we may have something worthwhile to say today. The issue today is to evaluate a proposal by the proponent to build a 36-floor rental tower on a site which presently has, excuse me, two 26-floor rental buildings. They were built probably around 1980. The next page of the submission has the Every Village secondary plan. Now that's going to be important because I'm going to point out how this particular proposal is so far removed from the initial plans for this Every Village secondary plan, which came into effect in 2002.
Hey, Kimmer. So where are the questions for Berman-Thorpe again? I got your text here, but where's the question?
Mr. Chair, mute.
No.
I'm sorry, Councillor Ford?
No, Mr. Chair, it's just you were off mute, but I think the clerk's muted you.
Okay, sorry.
But I think the deputy was still speaking.
Hello? May I continue?
Sorry, continue. Thank you. Continue.
That have occurred, and I think with this given time, I probably want to proceed over to the following page, where looking at principal concerns, and that is that the Western Finch community, the secondary plan for Every Village, for the concept put forward by the previous councillor for Ward 7, beginning in 2002. There was never any residential input on that. Never. It was really the work of the Every Village BIA, which I applaud, and the councillor. The development is strictly one company that's had the opportunity to build here. That's Medallion. The project is financed by the federal, provincial, and city governments largely. Now, if we just could proceed a little bit further on, some of the issues or concerns that I have. One of the major issue here is intensification. Here we have a proposal for a 36-floor tower. Now, I just heard Councillor Grimes mention that how he would not accept it in his area because his residents wouldn't accept one at Islington and the Queensway for a 37-floor tower. And why? Because the residents wouldn't like it. Well, up here, there probably won't even be very many residents to speak to the issue. But I think it's all the more important why the council and the Residents Association have to really look at this and what's best for the neighborhood in the long term. I want to point out to you, as you well know, the map of the Toronto neighborhood improvement areas. And the northwest end of the city is a central part of that. And the Hubbard Mead project is right in the middle of it. And of a special note now, given this COVID situation, is if you were to correlate the two areas, neighborhood improvement and the incidence of COVID, you'd see that the incidence of COVID has been very, very high in the northwest end. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's been extreme intensification over the years. In the 1970s, 1960s and 70s, getting a Finch, the decision was made by council, various councils, to intensify, so that there were numerous large apartment complexes. And then in the 80s and 70s, 80s, the decision was made to do the same thing in Etobicoke, in Councillor Ford's jurisdiction, north of Finch. And that area today has a high incidence of COVID. And I think it's important when we look at planning for the future is that we select buildings that are where people will have the opportunity to thrive. And I think with these huge towers, that we need to take a step back and say, well, maybe this isn't the best thing in the long term, because for years from now, people are going to look back and say, well, we would have been able to mitigate some of the problems, the social problems that arise, if we had toned down the development somewhat. And I think it's interesting to note that in December 2020, Bosefields, the planner for the developer, put forward an amazing proposal. But they're looking
Mr.
at...
Evers, you have 30 seconds left. Mr. Evers, 30 seconds. I'll give you some more time because I interrupted you. So 30 seconds, please wrap up.
Appreciate it. Yes, I will. I'm just going to say the next proposal that's going to be coming before you is another 5 buildings. So a total of 10 buildings in that northwest corner. That's not even including this one. So I think the message should be that is it wise that this particular area of the city be an area where affordable housing is going to be made available, but where people are going to be jammed together. And I would propose that it is probably not in the best interest of the community. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. Questions of the deputy? Seeing none, questions of staff.
Mr. Chair, sorry, Mr. Chair, it's
Councillor
just
Holiday,
takes me a
question?
moment here. I had one brief one, and I if I may go ahead. Mr. Evers, thanks for speaking to us. I just wondered if there was a discussion around affordable housing and the potential interconnection with density when the secondary plan was, I think you referred to it as a secondary plan, was created.
Yes.
And is there a, I say a policy, but is there at least a sentiment among residents and the Residents Association about the relationship between affordable housing and density? And my basic question is, would you allow more density for affordable housing, or do you believe it should be within the confines of the secondary plan that you've already established?
Well, the secondary plan originally called for buildings between 3 and 6 stories. And then it was expanded to 18 possible stories if you got community benefits. Well, all of a sudden now we're looking at 36. We've already have a 26 floor building that's already been completed. And they're working on phase 2, which is one of 26 and 30. That's not even talking about the one we're looking at today. So I think realistically there has to be more density, but not, I think we have to sort of tone it down a bit. That's all I'm saying. I mean, we have to be realistic. We need to offer a mix of housing. That was another recommendation of the Emery Village secondary plan, a mix of housing. Well, this, one tower after another is not a mix of housing.
Was the idea of including affordable housing within the height, massing, and density discussions that led to the finalization of the secondary plan, or is this a new layer on top?
It's a new layer. It's something new. I think originally, I mean, it's taken 19, well, it's 2002, so 19 years to get to the point where we're at today. And I think for the first half dozen years at least, there was difficulty getting financing. And the only way this went forward was to get the federal government, provincial government, and the city of Toronto to put up the money. And in fact, if you look at comparing this development to all the other developments around, or most of the developments around the city, this is one that's financed by at basically the taxpayers' expense. And it's government money that's coming from those three levels of government.
Okay, thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
Other questions to Deputy? Seeing none, questions of staff? Seeing none, Councillor Perruzza.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I have a motion. I believe the clerk has it, and it basically just asks the staff to use the secondary plan as a lens for assessing this development. So I guess what we're doing today is really we're receiving an application in this particular district. I just want to sort of recapture some of the things that have already been said by Mr. Evers. So this is at the heart of what's called the Emery Village BIA. Right in the center of it. The Emery Village BIA is essentially an industrial BIA made up of factories, made up of plants, made up of construction outfits, made up of storage facilities, made up of dealerships and body shops. It's all of the things, a dump, a city dump, a city works yard, made up of all those things that you would basically classify as an industrial operation. This, to me, just sort of piggybacks on what we determined in the late 60s and 70s and later on to be very bad planning, where you butted up sensitive uses, residential and other community type uses, up against the harshest uses that we allow people to use lands for, and that is industrial. For heavy machines, lots of trucks, lots of pollution, lots of noise, lots of different odors, and I'm not talking about the smell of roses here. So we allowed bad planning in the 70s. To just simply now continue to extend it. How we got here, Mr. Evers spoke to that briefly. My view, we should never have gotten here. 3 of those corners of Weston and Finch were in the employment, what would be considered employment today, or industrial today, yesterday. If, for example, these applications were coming today, we would force them through a comprehensive review process to convert those lands from industrial employment to residential, to the sensitive uses. But because this somehow happened before today's rules and before today's planning methodologies, we're here and we need to consider this application within this Emery Village BIA context. It doesn't get rid of the heavy trucks, doesn't get rid of the fumes, doesn't get rid of the fact that if you're on the 20 stories, you're looking down on a city dump. And in the summertime, you know, if you're sitting on your balcony, you get all of the flavor of what that dump emits. It doesn't change that. Those uses continue to be there. But what we need our planning department to do, what we really need them to do, is apply that lens that they first developed a secondary plan which had some very, very specific limitations based on the surfacing capacity of the district and based on the density and needs of the district. They need to use that lens, that microscope. None of you would accept anything less in your own areas. 2, a plan was developed that spoke to those the servicing capacity within the district. That's also a lens that needs to be applied. I know that Councillor Holiday talked about housing and how housing is now a component of this. Well, I have to tell you, any housing that happens in this area, in this district, rental housing especially, is affordable, is at the 70-80% of the average rent values for the city of Toronto.
15 seconds, Councillor.
We get that. The market does that to us. So all the housing here, with that definition, is considered affordable. So that doesn't qualify this for any kind of boost, any kind of density increase, any kinds of special consideration, any kind of fast tracking. Absolutely none. The
Please
lens,
wrap up, Councillor Pruitt, out of time.
Yes, the lens that needs to be applied, as my motion says, is A, the secondary plan, because there's servicing limitations in that, and B, that we don't just simply continue the bad planning that we did in the 60s and 70s, where we butted up sensitive uses to heavy industrial operations. It does not work for either the employment districts or for the sensitive areas. And I would leave the planners with that message. Please, that's the lens that needs to be applied. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Councillor Pruitt. Any further speakers to the item? Seeing none. So, Councillor Pruitt, you're moving the staff recommendations, correct?
I'm moving my amendment to the staff recommendations to basically move towards a community consultation on the project. That's what.
Okay, Nancy, you've got that motion up for. Can you put that motion up, please? Motion's on the screen. All in favor?
But Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to move my amendment, but I'm not happy to move the recommendation because
okay,
it just
this is all you move.
So if you would move the staff recommendations, I'm happy with that. But I just my amendment.
You're going to move this, and I'll move the staff recommendations. You're good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So Councillor Pruitt's amendments on the screen. All in favor? Opposed? As carried. And I'll move the staff recommendations. All in favor?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the only reason I'm not moving refusal on this initially is because, as you know, we need to consider this the application. But I would strongly urge the planners.
Clause is amended. All in favor?
Thank you.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving right along. 22.7, 34 Stony Lakeshore Boulevard. I already spoke with this. We'll deal with this 3. So I'll just move the staff recommendations. Council Ford, move the staff recs for me, please.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 22.8, 41 to 75 Four Winds Drive, zoning bylaw application. We have a speaker. Janice Jaffe White. Do we have the deputy on the line?
Yes, I am.
Oh, hi. Good morning. Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. Good morning. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to speak to us this morning. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to provide feedback regarding zoning bylaw amendment application for Four Winds Drive. Before today, I have already made contact with city staff, our local ward councillor, our York Condominium Corporation number 54, our board of directors, and I have submitted an extensive list of comments and questions via the City of Toronto Development Application Centre website after having read the more than 20 documents posted that were submitted. As property owners in Ward 7, Humber River Black Creek, residing within and possibly even considered adjacent to the proposed development site, I believe it's essential for my voice to be heard on behalf of our community. The preliminary report concerning this development application is extremely informative, enlightening, and a relief to me because it reflects much of what I identified on my own as being problematic with this application. To be quite frank, I was shocked by what I read. For example, something glaringly worrisome was that the applicant, in an April 2019 pre-application consultation meeting held with city staff, had proposed 2 mixed-use buildings of 8 and 14 stories, at which time city staff raised concerns. And then, in a follow-up pre-application consultation meeting held on January 8th, 2020, the applicant put forward a proposal for an even larger development, resulting in city staff again raising concerns. When I read this, I couldn't help but shake my head in disbelief. To be perfectly frank, it's unfathomable that a 32-story residential building would be given the green light, given numerous factors, including, but not limited to, the fact that this would not be in keeping with elements in the Keel-Finch official plan amendments, such as height. Not only is the proposed 32-story building much taller than what the Keel-Finch secondary plan allows for, 105.6 meters, compared to a maximum allowable height of 40 meters, but the proposed building is more than 3 times taller than any other structure in our immediate neighborhood. While reference is made to the Keel-Finch Plus study in some of the supporting documentation, it would seem to me that much more work needs to be put forth into completing and revising this rezoning bylaw amendment application before the public is consulted any further. There's much more I could highlight as being problematic with this application, but my time is limited here. The other specific issues of concern that I have are documented in my comments that I submitted before today's community council meeting. Anyone who has read the 5 pages of questions and comments that I submitted will know that I have also raised issues regarding the fact that it's not made clear in any of the documents I read whether these are condo units or rental units. I have concerns about the number and type of dwelling units. I didn't see any reference made to police services, and some of the references to other emergency services was of concern to me. There's information on supporting documents that is out of date. For example, with reference to Fountainhead Park, there are no bocce courts anymore there because they were removed when the new playground was built. The tennis courts are not public, they are private, and there are issues regarding the suggestion there be an ice rink built. I also pointed out concerns and questions regarding Section 37 community benefits. I had many questions regarding that. And I also had questions and concerns about the proposed consultation process, including what would be involved with YCC 54 and other local corporations. I also raised questions regarding the fact I only saw in one place in any of the documents that this development would be built in 2 phases. And I was also very much concerned about vehicle parking and how that was addressed. It's quite clear in the documentation that the development application is ignoring what the city requires when it comes to vehicle parking requirements and bicycle requirements. I'm extremely concerned about the spillover onto on-street parking and spillover into nearby parking lots that are belonging to our corporation and other corporations.
Please wrap up, please, you're out of time. Please wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah.
In closing, in its current state, this development application does not appear to be compliant and appears to be deficient in many areas. Therefore, we are in support of city staff recommending to Etobicoke York Community Council that this rezoning application be refused and no community consultation meeting be scheduled until all the issues of this development proposal are adequately addressed, and we trust that Etobicoke York Council will accept this recommendation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you very much. Questions of staff? Councilor Perruzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the staff, is this application complete in your view?
Hi to you, Mr. Chair. This is Henry in the City Planning Division. The application, when it was submitted, was incomplete. On February 23rd, the applicant provided additional information to deem the application complete. Staff are in the midst of reviewing the application at this moment.
Okay. Do you have, just sort of preliminarily, do you have some concerns with this application?
All the preliminary concerns with the application are identified in the preliminary report. At this moment in time, in its given proposal, staff would not be in support of the application in relation to its height, its density, and other matters.
Right. So all things considered, if this were a final report, you'd be recommending refusal.
If the proposal is at its current state, staff will be recommending refusal, but it has to be subject to further review. And the information presented is only preliminary at this point.
Okay. So right. So and basically, you're not. I mean, just the way our planning process works. So I'm just piggybacking on some of the comments that were made by the deputy in terms of, you know, don't schedule a meeting, refuse it today, rip it up, send it home. That's not something that would be advisable. It's something we shouldn't do. And in 120 days, whatever that number of days is, we'd be at the LPAT or OMB or whatever you want to call it. And the application and the development would be completely out of our hands without any comment, correct? If we did that.
That is correct, Councillor. I would recommend that a community consultation meeting take place. There is yet another public meeting that is to be at the Etobicoke York Community Council should the application be approved in some form.
Okay. Thank you so much, Henry.
Mr. Chair.
Councillor Prutza, any further questions of staff?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Okay, I got Councillor Nunziata and then Councillor Hawley. Councillor Nunziata.
Just on the same line that Councillor Peruzza to city staff. So the reason, well, these preliminary reports are put on the agenda for staff to schedule a consultation meeting with the residents, which is an opportunity for the residents in the community to express their concerns to the applicant as well as to the city, and therefore following the community meeting, there would be amendments to the application. So this is the process that we go through when there's a preliminary report on the agenda, correct?
That is correct, yes. To you, Councillor. To you, Chair, sorry.
So it's nothing out of the ordinary that we go out to the community to hear their concerns, and then at that point, if the applicant doesn't address the concerns of the city or the community, then the final report would be what the recommendation from planning would be, correct?
Correct. That's all part of the process.
Thank you.
Councillor Hawley, question.
Yeah, I think just further on that, Henry, if you're still at the microphone, I know we've in this very meeting, there are some reports before us that I think the council and the community council have expressed some misgivings on behalf of the residents about, but is it my understanding though, it's better to have something like a report like this on the record than to get into a situation that if it was refused and sent away, no action taken, and the matter did end up at the LPAT, that, you know, it's better to have some documentation on the record than none.
To you, Mr. Chair, I think this goes into a little bit of a legality question, but in my opinion, it is best to have a report with preliminary opinions at community council at this point, and to follow up with further engagement with the community through a community consultation meeting.
Okay, thank you, Henry. I appreciate it.
No further questions of staff. Councillor Peruzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a motion once again. Basically, the staff have it. We just recently in this area went through a very, very long, protracted exercise where we developed a secondary plan. That secondary plan was motivated by the fact that some major infrastructure has gone into the intersection of Keele and Finch, the subway station. So that secondary plan, I believe, has been sort of in the hopper now for almost 3 years. And we recently approved it at the city council meeting of, I think it was December of this year. I may be wrong in that, but it's one of those meetings. This property or this area is at the extreme end of what would be that secondary plan circle. So if you draw, 500 or 800 meter circle around the intersection of Keele and Finch, you get to about a kilometer away or almost a kilometer away. That's where this site would be. And the secondary plan is very clear and very specific about what can happen here in this area in terms of renewal or regeneration. The site now currently has, the area's only commercial space. I'm sorry, a retail space, a grocery store, some other amenities, and it has a very, very well-developed residential community all around it, both on the Four Winds side and on the Fountainhead side of Sentinel. So that secondary plan is clear and specific. What this application is akin to, it's akin to prospecting. Some guys decided that, well, what the hell? I'm going to strike out for the gold rush. I'm going to put as much as I think I can put on these lands that will fit in the drawing, irrespective of how it encroaches, irrespective of whose lands it's on, let me put as much as I can. Here's what the plan is. We all know the plan. The plan is file an application. The city will probably refuse it. They're probably taunting us to refuse it today, so that they can just simply, under the revived rules of planning in Ontario, run to LPAT or the OMB and say, look at this. We filed an application. These guys failed to deal with it within 120 days or 90 days or whatever that number of days is, and then basically, argue with us as well as hold up the secondary plan at LPAT for a number of years to come. We get that. We understand the game. So to some degree, we need to play the game. We need to say, okay, you're a prospector, fine. We will, entertain your application. Let's take a look at it. And then we'll spell out the prospecting elements of this plan to you. And to some degree, it puts us in a better position through that very litigated process. I'm saddened, as you all should be saddened, that there are folks out there who just simply see city building as a means to an end for themselves. That's why we do a secondary plan. That's why we spend so much time and so much money and so much energy and so much expertise in developing a secondary plan, so that we get comprehensive growth, so that we get decent city building. Do we always get it right within the context of that? No. We will make lots of mistakes along the way. But those mistakes to some degree are mitigated by the fact that there's a comprehensive vision and there's a lot of work that goes into those plans. And then you do all of that work, and then all of a sudden someone comes along and says, you know what, I don't care about your plans. I don't care about your city building. I'm just here about me. I'm just here. I am. I'm just here for me and myself, and here's my application as much as I can, or I think I can get on here, and city building be damned. And what my motion seeks to do, Mr. Chair, is hold people to the plan that we developed over many, many years at great expense. Thank you, Councilor Pruitt.
So you're moving your motion. I'm going to move the staff recommendation. Is that it?
Please, because otherwise I'd have no choice but to move refusal before you today.
Councilor Pruitt is finished. Any further speakers to the item? Seeing none, Councillor Pruitt's amendment on the screen. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I'll move the staff recommendations. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Clause amended. All in favor?
I'd like to go on the record as being opposed to that, Mr. Chair. On this one
Okay,
here,
on the staff recommendations that I moved, a recorded vote on the staff recs that I moved, a recorded vote, please. Nancy?
On the item as amended, if you could please indicate how you're voting. Councillor Grimes,
In favor?
Councillor Ford,
In favor.
Councillor Holliday,
In favor.
Councillor Nunziata,
In favor.
Councillor Perruzza.
Opposed.
Okay,
That item carries.
great. Thank you. Okay, moving right along, 2210, 47 Keel Street, the Quad Phase 2 Public Art Plan. Councilor Pruitt, you held the item. Councilor Pruitt? You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to move those recommendations. And Mr. Chair, you know, when will you get good development, right? I'm happy to move good development in my district. This is good development, you know, it's, you know, there's, what can you say about it? It's good city building, right? That sticks to a plan that's developing. Yes, it creates intensification. It creates much needed housing for people, but it's good city building. And I'm happy to support and move good city building. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Pruitt. Seeing no further speakers, Councilor Pruitt moving the item. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, where are we going here? Screen's frozen here. Sorry, Nancy, my screen's frozen here on my, could you tell me our next item, please?
We have item 11. It's the request for a fence exemption to the municipal code, chapter 447, 102.
Councilor Pruitt, you held the item. Is there any speakers on the item? We had it held for speakers, no speakers? Nancy, no speakers, correct?
There are no public speakers. Councillor Perruzza was holding the item.
Yeah, okay. Questions of staff? Seeing none.
I do have one short question of staff,
okay.
Mr. Chair. To bylaw staff. When was the last time anybody attended this property? I'll tell you why I say that, because the photographs in the report are not up to date, and they should be brought up to date. There's been another layer added onto the fence that's not captured in the photo. So instead of a question to staff, maybe I can encourage them to go out and take a renewed photograph for our report, so we have an accurate picture of what the fence looks like, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm happy to move to speak on it then.
Okay, Councilor Pruitt to speak.
I have a motion to ask for a deferral for 2 meetings, 2 days, because I would like to, with the residents, when the weather gets a little better, try to find a compromise that everybody can live with here. Again, as I repeat, the photographs are not up to date. There's another layer that's been added to this fence. So I would like the community council to give me the time to be able to mediate this one. I think we can find a peaceful solution to this fence between the 2 neighbors. I just need the time to do that. Thank you so much.
So you're moving deferral to next day?
No, not next day. 2 days, not April, but
2 cycles?
May. Yeah, 2 cycles. I need better weather, Mr. Chair. And it changes nothing.
I
The fences are already built.
Nancy, you good with that? You're good?
So, Mr. Chairman, Chairman, yes, so if he wants it deferred for 2 meetings, the motion is incorrect. It should be May, not April.
Sorry, okay. I don't, yeah.
Nancy, you got that?
Yes, we'll make the amendment to the May 17th meeting.
Thank you so
Okay,
much,
all in
Councillor
favor?
Nunziata.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, 2212, request for fence exemption, Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447-109, Valcrest Drive, Councillor Holiday. Questions of staff?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody got questions of staff? Seeing none, Councillor Holiday to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As indicated earlier, my intention is to defer the matter. If I may ask the clerk to put the deferral motion. I'll just let everyone know that everyone is working hard to get this ready for Community Council to consider. As you see from the report, it's a little unusual and a bit complicated, so we want to have everything set up to facilitate decision-making at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Motion's on the screen. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. 1 second here. Bear with me. Okay, moving right along, 2214, correct, Nancy? Traffic control signals and traffic management Burmanthorpe Road between Dundas West and Kipling Avenue. So in my ward, I have questions of staff. We're going to have Mr. Clayton. Is he there?
Good morning, Councillor.
Good morning, Bruce. How are you? Just a question. You did a speed study last month and found most people are not speeding on this stretch. Is that correct?
It actually was not last month. It was about a year ago, February 2020, that we did the study.
That's after we had our on-site meeting. We met on site there with residents, right?
Yeah, I wasn't at that meeting, but I believe it was after that. Yeah, so it was done, about a year ago.
Yeah, so I actually look at reducing that to 40K, and you said that's not warranted. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's got the physical features, but because it's an arterial road, it also takes into account the 85th percentile. And the 85th percentile based on our radar speed study was 55 kilometers an hour, so it didn't meet the warrants based on that. What we've committed to in the report is doing a follow-up study using tube counters. So that's what we're planning on doing.
Okay. And I've sent you lots of pictures. The residents given us pictures, like lots of accidents, and the police records show it that, cars, piled up on people's front lawns, hitting telephone poles. And I know there's a big curve there. We're like, what are the cause of these accidents? It's that we sent numerous pictures of people up on people's front lawns.
Yeah, they do seem, like through the chair, they do seem to be loss of control collisions. I believe it was 9 collisions we had over 10 years being loss of control. And that's just what's reported to the police. Some of them may go unreported. Somebody could lose control and be able to leave the scene, and it may not get reported, but the ones that are reported to the police, the pattern seems to be loss of control collisions.
Yeah, and we've asked you to look at more guardrails on that section where people lost control and hit poles. Can we look at that, putting more guardrails in there?
Yeah, they sort of are placed where we can place them. The challenge on this section of road is there's not a lot of space between the edge of the road and the sidewalk under existing conditions, so it's not something that can be done quick and easy. It does require reconstruction of certain sections of road. There's one potential opportunity that we might be able to put a guide rail in, sort of south of Holloway, but it's not they're not easy installations.
Okay, and this section is a major arterial road, and we've heard from residents request to downgrade the classification to a minor arterial. Is there any benefit to doing that?
Not from our perspective in traffic operations. It doesn't change what we would recommend in any way. It doesn't preclude doing anything. So it's the changing to a minor arterial, for example, from a major, it does reduce some of the level of service that would happen on the road. However, it doesn't change what we can and can't do as far as what's been addressed in this report.
Okay, so I listen. I know we've had many meetings, many correspondence with my staff and with the residents on that. So today you're recommending put the installation of traffic signals at the intersection of Burmanthorpe and Park Boulevard Holloway Road, correct?
Yeah, we are based on, we fortunately, a lot of the studies we weren't able to recommend because we don't have traffic data. This one, we happen to have traffic data. So where we've had it available, we are recommending it. This particular signal is the main reason it's being recommended is to accommodate pedestrian crossings because of the long distance between crossing protection. So following Vision Zero, looking at a Vision Zero lens here, it does make sense to put some pedestrian crossing protection mid-block.
Okay, and when would we approve these today? When would you see those lights going in?
They would be most likely a 2022, so next year they would be installed.
And I'm going to be also moving a motion for community safety zone signage at Bermanthorpe. Are you okay with that, or?
Yeah, so this has been designated as a community safety zone prior to a previous direction of Community Council in December. I don't believe the signs have been installed yet. So they're in the queue. So if you want to recommend that they be installed or be expedited, that would be appropriate.
So we get some watch your speed sign by the vicinity of the new school on Bermanthorpe and Bermanthorpe Crescent would be great.
That could happen. There is a long list of locations. So those community safety zone signs are something that can happen more quickly than putting in the permanent watch your speed. That sort of in a huge queue of other schools that are asking for it. So it will happen. And
just to be clear, you're going to be continue to maintain looking at this section of road, correct?
That's right. We've got, as soon as we can do additional traffic studies, the problem's been over the last year, if we could have done traffic studies, we would have, and we would have been able to address some of these things. The most recent, we are looking at starting up traffic studies again after the lockdown, and once traffic volumes get back to somewhat normal, once that happens, we'll be able to address some of the issues we weren't able to address in this report.
And just to be clear, the reason you're not doing traffic studies is because they won't give you the accurate data that when we get back to normal times, correct?
That's true. The fluctuations right now, the volumes are up and down. Once we have some stability, then we're able to do the study.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you. Any further questions of staff? Councillor Holiday.
Yep, thanks. Through you to Mr. Clayton. Can you just describe the intended design of the activation procedure for the new lights?
Sorry, they will be a semi-actuated operation. So they'll control both traffic and pedestrians at the intersection, but they'll be semi-actuated in the sense that the green will stay on Burnhamthorpe. The only time it will change is if a pedestrian wants to cross or there's a vehicle on the side street that needs to get onto Burnhamthorpe. So that's how they will operate.
So the vehicle on the side street waiting to make a left-hand turn onto Burnhamthorpe would trigger the lights to go, and there would be a time routine for that. And I take it if a pedestrian pressed the button, it would also activate the lights. And maybe, is it a longer crossing for the pedestrian?
That's true. That's the way it would operate. A pedestrian will get the full crossing time. If there was, for example, one vehicle waiting to turn left, and that was the only vehicle at the intersection, the time would be truncated, and it would be shorter delay for traffic on Burnhamthorpe.
Okay, so there's no intention to sort of randomly add red lights to Burnhamthorpe to stop the traffic. That's not the intent here. I believe the intent is to create a safe crossing point because of the distance between traffic lights on Burnhamthorpe.
Yes, through the chair, that is the reason why these signals are the main reason why these signals are being installed, pedestrian crossing protection. However, vehicles can take advantage of it as well.
Okay, and if we just added random red lights on Burnhamthorpe, I take it you wouldn't advise that because it wouldn't make the situation better. It could make things worse.
Yeah, correct. I agree that it's not the intention of randomly putting them in or to act as any speed control device. It purely is for pedestrian crossing protection.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, staff speakers, and I'll go first. So I have a motion like to move. Total York Community Council requests the General Manager of Transportation Services to expedite installation of approved community safety zone signage on Burnhamthorpe Road this year. And as a part of the school safety zone program rollout, reassess the level of priority of school safety zone treatments, which includes permanent watch your speed signage in the vicinity of the newly opened school at Burnhamthorpe Road and South Burnhamthorpe Crescent. and I'll be moving the staff recommendation. So with that, this is a, Councillor Hawley, you know this very well, and Councillor Ford, it's a kind of a crazy, got a bend, but the residents are just irate what's happening there. I've been sent many pictures of cars up on front lawns. It's just really bizarre. We've walked the neighborhood with the residents. We've had Bruce Clayton and his team out there. We've walked it. So these lights will give us a little bit of safety, people crossing. This motion I'm moving, hopefully we can get that in sooner than later. And the commitment from Bruce to keep an eye on this section here is appreciated by myself and hopefully by the residents, but they're just really, really anxious to see how we slow these people down. I don't know how we do it, but it's, I think this was a good start. And with Bruce committed to keep an eye on it, we'll keep moving and we'll keep working with the residents. So with that, I want to thank transportation staff. So I'll move my motion first. If we put it on the screen, Nancy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Staff relations, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Clause amended. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving right along, I'm going to go back to 22.4, 1325, 1365 the Queensway. I think staff have that motion ready for me, Nancy. Is that correct?
Yes, we're just getting it on the screen.
Okay. So I'll just read that they recommend staff report be deleted and replaced with the following. Community Council direct the city planning staff to continue discussions with the applicant to reduce the height and massing of the proposed 37-story buildings, that's 2 30-story buildings, and bring the application for 1325, 1365 the Queensway in conformity with the applicable planning policies and guidelines, existing conduct of the Queensway. And 2, Community Council direct the city planning staff to report back to the Etobicoke Community Council regarding this outcome of the further discussions with the applicant and any revision to the application for 1325, 1365 the Queensway prior to scheduling a community consultation meeting. So with that, thanks to staff for drafting this motion for me. You know, we often seen to my colleagues these motions, we just schedule the public meeting and go out there. But, you know, I know Councillor Holiday knows this is Councillor Ford. This is corner Kipling and the Queensway, the Hakeem Optimal. 2 37-story towers there, little bungalows right up to behind. It's not going to be supported. There's no. This is under the guise of ridiculous. So there's no way I want to bring this to a public meeting. The residents will be irate. So this is just totally unacceptable in my mind. So I want to thank staff for drafting this motion, and it'll come back here, and hopefully this applicant will understand that there's no way. This is not even close. And if you cut that in half, it probably wouldn't be close. So with that, I'm going to ask you to support that motion, and I'm going to ask for a recorded vote.
All those in favor of the amendment by Councillor Grimes, when I call your name, please indicate how you're voting. Councillor Perruzza.
Support.
Councillor Nunziata.
In favor.
Councillor Holiday.
In favor.
Councillor Ford.
In favor.
Councillor Grimes.
In favor.
That item carries unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along, we're going to skip over 2219 as I have a conflict on that. 2222 appoints the Mimico Village BIA. With that, I think you probably all watched the news last week. We had the founder of San Remo Bakery passed away. So during all that, we're trying to get AGM off, and we couldn't do it because of it's a very tiny BIA, and San Remo, they're a big part of that BIA. So my motion here is to take 3 names off, and we also had the passing of Bill Castle from Castle Pharmacy on the same strip, who's been heading that BIA for years, and unfortunately lost Bill Castle. So total tragedy for that BIA in a week. So with that, I just ask you to support the recommendation, taking 3 names off and putting 3 new names on. So all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. And then 2223, staff's asked me to move this motion. It's before us. No parking and to no stopping on Brooker's Lane. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then 2225, I have a motion here to install speed humps. The residents on Kingsley have done a poll. I think it was 23 out of 37 were in favor. That's 62% of putting speed humps in. So with that, I'm going to ask you to support that. I'm sure Councillor Holliday is asking for a recorded vote on that.
Yeah,
but,
if you may, Mr. Chair, if I could have a recorded vote.
Yeah.
As you know, I support the process around this stuff.
Yeah. So the motion is before us. All in favor? Sorry, Nancy, recorded vote, so I'll give that to you.
Have a recorded vote on EY 2225. All of those in favor. So please indicate how you're voting when I call your name. Councillor Grimes.
In favor.
Councillor Ford.
In favor.
Councillor Holliday.
Opposed.
Councillor Nunziata.
In favor.
Councillor Perruzza.
In favor.
That motion carries 4-1.
Thank you. And moving right along, next one is 22.26 Mimico Land Assembly and Waterfront Trail. I just brought this forward. If you look at this section from Royark Road over to First Street, there's been a couple applications come forward. We've got calls on it. It's a pretty big site. The developers are assembling along there. There's another one next door who's assembled a house next door, and there's one for sale right now. So I think the time is right. When the first application came in, we took part of the waterfront as part of the waterfront trail, and then the application kind of went stagnant, and I think it's up for sale, and a few people approached me on it. So I think this is the right time to look at talking to the federal government, the provincial government, and the TRCA, Waterfront Toronto, see if we can get a path along that the waterfront. So we would come down off Royark Road where we have those bike lanes up on Lakeshore. I think it'd be a great addition if we can get that. And I think we're almost there to have that whole block assembled, which would be a great addition to the waterfront trail. So I'm just asking for a report to come back and have staff talk to other levels, see if there's some more funding that we did in Mimico. We added the waterfront trail back a few years ago. So with that, I'm asking for your support on that. All in favor? I'll get a recorded vote on this one too, please. Record it.
Thank you. We're going to take a recorded vote on EY 2226. All of those in favor, please indicate how you're voting when I call your name. Councillor Perruzza.
Something. Could you put the motion up on the screen, please? Just so I know what I'm supporting. I apologize.
No, we'll put the new item on.
Listen, how come we're not using our voting system on on the other system we use for council so we can see the motions? I'm just curious.
That system's currently working for council only.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Here's the recommendation, and we'll get it back up.
So Councillor Grimes is essentially moving the staff recommendation here. Is that it?
No, this is my motion, Councillor. Add to agenda. It's asking for staff to look at if we could extend that trail, talk to other levels of government, see if there's some funding available to, as all that development occurs. We would be asking for that anyway. So there's lots of action going on.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm in favor. Sorry.
Okay. When I call your name, please indicate how you're voting. Councillor Perruzza.
In favor.
Councillor Nunziata.
In favor.
Councillor Holliday.
In favor.
Councillor Ford.
In favor.
Councillor Grimes.
In favor.
That item carries unanimously.
Okay. Moving right along, 22.27 Chimney Swift Park, Councillor Holliday.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if it's easy to get the item up on the screen for my colleagues, but essentially it's a report back request for next meeting for Parks, Forestry and Recreation staff to give us an update on the status of the creation of a new park, which is being developed in conjunction with the 19 Glen Agar subdivision.
Okay. So motion's on the screen. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And I missed 22.24 holding provision for 22 Islington Avenue in Ward 1. Michael Ford, Councillor Ford.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Be very brief. I'm just asking planning to come back to the next meeting on the status of 2200 Islington and their holding provision that's on the site right now.
Great. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So Nancy, our last item is 2219. Is that correct?
Yes, that's all we have to deal with, and the bills at the end.
Yeah, so I'm going to, I have to declare a conflict on this, so I'm going to jump. I have to turn my screen off, so I'm just going to hand it to the Vice Chair, Councillor Ford, and he can finish this item and do the bills. I'll just jump off the line now. So, Councillor Ford, I turn the chair to you. Thank you, everybody.
Sounds good. All right, so EY 22.19, heavy vehicles prohibition, Burr Street West between Auckland Road and a point 210.8 meters west of Markland Drive. Any questions? Any members have questions? See none. To speakers, Councillor Holiday.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the staff recommendations. Thank you.
Staff recommendations have been moved. All those in favor?
Sorry,
Opposed?
sorry, Councillor Ford. Councillor Ford, because that Councillor Grimes has an interest, we should have a recorded vote that he wasn't here for the vote.
That's correct. Okay, Nancy, can you do a record vote?
Yes, all those in favor of adopting the recommendations in the staff report for EY 2219, please indicate how you're voting when I call your name. Councillor Ford.
In favor.
Councillor Holiday.
In favor.
Councillor Nunziata. Councillor Nunziata.
In favor.
Councillor Peruzza.
In favor.
That item carries.
Okay, excellent. So I think that brings a wrap on to the agenda. I guess we have the bills.
Yes, we'll just get those motions up and you can move them.
Okay, that the Etobicoke York Community Council passed and declares bylaw bills 130 to 138 prepared for the March 3rd, 2021 meeting 22 of the Community Council. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. And that the Etobicoke York Community Council pass and declares a bylaw, a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Etobicoke York Community Council acting under delegate authority at meeting 22 on March 3rd, 2021. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. And move adjournment. Councillor Nunziata. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.